Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live broadcast. Application of new mass spectrometric methods and workflows to determine authenticity of food. I'm Laura Bush, the Editorial Director of LCGC, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. We're pleased to bring you this web seminar presented by LCGC and sponsored by Bruker Corporation. Bruker enables scientists to make breakthrough discoveries and develop new applications that improve the quality of human life. Bruker's high-performance scientific instruments and high-value analytical and diagnostic solutions enable scientists to explore life and materials at molecular, cellular, and microscopic levels. In close cooperation with customers, Bruker is enabling innovation, productivity, and customer success in life science molecular research in applied and pharma applications. Today, worldwide, more than 6,000 employees are working on this permanent challenge at over 90 locations on all continents. Bruker continues to build upon its extensive range of products and solutions, its broad base of installed systems, and a strong reputation among its customers. Being one of the world's leading analytical instrumentation companies, Bruker is strongly committed to fully meet its customers' needs as well as to continue to develop state-of-the-art technologies and innovative solutions for today's analytical questions. Before we get started today, we have a few housekeeping announcements. First, the webcast is designed to be interactive, so we encourage you to ask questions. You can submit questions at any time by typing them in the Q&A box, which you can find on the right-hand side of your screen. You can enlarge the slide window by clicking on the small square icon in the upper right-hand corner of the slide window, or by hovering your mouse over the lower right-hand corner and dragging the window to the desired size. The slides will advance automatically during the webcast. And if you have any technical problems viewing or hearing the presentation today, please click on the question mark Help widget in the dock at the bottom of your window. I would now like to introduce today's speaker. We are very pleased to be joined today by Dr. Carsten Baessmann. Dr. Carsten Baessmann is responsible for the development of new mass spectrometry-based solutions in the applied markets. His responsibilities include managing collaborations with leading researchers in food, environmental, forensics, and clinical analysis. He is also responsible for driving the necessary hardware and software development. Dr. Baessmann holds a PhD in physical chemistry from the Technical University of Munich in the development of new mass spectrometry and laser spectroscopy methods. He has held various management positions in research and development and application development at Bruker for 22 years. Dr. Baessmann, thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead and get us started.
Thank you, Laura. Dear colleagues, I also would like to welcome everybody for today's Bruker LCGC webinar on the application of new mass spectrometric methods and workflows to determine authenticity of food. Food fraud is a very important topic in food research. Food fraud is mainly driven by commercial interest and can have severe impact on health of people. If you remember the melamine milk scandal in China in the 2008. Still, milk is an important target for fraud. Other topics are herbs, wine, fish, honey, juice, and edible oils. Today I will talk about our workflows and solutions to address authenticity and to find markers. Due to its commercial interest, olive oil is an important topic, and I will focus on extra virgin olive oil, the highest value olive oil. However, the principles and workflows I will show you today can be applied in the same way on many other targets. After a short introduction, I will give you an overview about our mass spec and metabolomics workflows, followed by 3 projects using different types of high-resolution mass spectrometers to address these topics. And we did these studies with good collaboration partners. The first study we did was using a high-resolution QTOF and metabolomics methods to find markers for geographical indication and complete characterization of olive oil, but also the complete olive tree. The olive tree is a rich resource for valuable natural products. In a second study, we were interested in isomers. So in natural product research, we face often the issue of isomers, which might be difficult to separate with chromatography. But different isomers might be also markers for food authenticity, and I will give you an idea how this can be done with our new timsTOFTH technology. At the end, I will talk about very fast characterization of olive oil using flow injection magnetic resonance mass spectrometry, MRMS or FTICR, using extreme resolution and isotopic fine structure for confident characterization. And extreme resolution could mean 500,000 or even several million resolving power. And so I did the first study with the University of Granada and the other two studies with different research group from the University of Athens. On the next two slides I got from our collaborator Maria Halibalaki from the University of Athens. I will give a short idea about extra virgin olive oil and why it is of high value. Olive oil is a key component of the Mediterranean diet, characterized by lower rates of coronary heart disease, as well as reduced breast cancer and colon risk. And so there had been many studies on that, and also the impact of virgin olive oil and its health benefits. The biological properties are its antioxidant, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, cardiovascular protection, neuroprotective effects, and also cancer protection. And what you see here, it could have high impact on health, like really potent drugs. And also in particular, the polyphenols can contribute to the protection of blood lipids from antioxidative stress. So therefore, olive oil tops the food ingredient food ranking according to FDA. The fraudulence in olive oil is a blend of extra virgin olive oil with soft deodorized olive oil, other edible oils of lower commercial value, mislabeling with false certification of olive brands, like protected designation of origin or protected geographical indication. So this will be the main topics for today. And metabolomics methods are the state-of-the-art methods to address these topics. Other methods that are heavily used are LC-DAD, GCMS, IRMS, NMR, and LCMS. And what we are looking for is the origin, olive tree variety, cultivation practice, and production procedure. And the aim of the three studies I present today is the development of metabolomics approaches using high-resolution mass spectrometry techniques for the verification of origin, cultivation practice, production procedure, and overall the quality of extra virgin olive oil. On this slide, you see the tools we have in our hands. That's the Bruker mass spec product portfolio. On the top left corner, you see our QTOF instruments, the compact and the impact we are using, particularly for these type of applications. And the new kit on the block is the timsTOFTH adding ion mobility. And we also have the MRMS systems, like here the Cymex offering extreme resolution. And we are using the QTOF, the timsTOFTH, and the Cymex for this type of application. In principle, you also could use one of our MALDI instruments for this topic, but they are more used for proteomics, polymers, and in particular imaging. Of course, Bruker has also a whole variety of LCs but also nominal mass spectrometers. And last but not least, also software is important, and for today's presentation, in particular, MetaboScape. That is, in principle, our solution. You work with one of our QTOFs, work with the T-Reg metabolomics column kit, and as software we are using MetaboScape for biomarker discovery and task if you want to screen and quantify. For biomarker validation, or if you have developed an assay, then you can use task for quantitation. For complete characterization, also the content is important, like using one of our libraries. In particular important, the MetaboBase personal library is important with more than 100,000 compounds, and the MetaboBase plant library. The heart of our offering for food authenticity is MetaboScape. It offers a complete solution with intuitive and comprehensive workflows for data processing, easy dereplication of already knowns. It gives intuitive feedback on the annotation quality. It has sophisticated tools for biomarker ID and advanced approaches for de novo ID, like in silico fragmentation. For the 3 studies I will show you today, we are using the different versions of TREX. TREX stands for Time-Aligned Region Complete Extraction. That's feature extraction for processing data from complementary systems. For flow injection analysis with MRMS or FDICR, we are using TREX 2D. And what we do here is you have maybe 2 to 5 minutes analysis time. The next one we use with our QTOFs, either with LC or GC. We use TREX 3D. That's made for deep proteome metabolome profiling by using different LC and GC methods. And they also can integrate positive and negative data, what we have been using. And if we want to add an additional dimension, we work with TREX 4D. And what you see on the left bottom side, we have also a intuitive annotation quality scoring for confident identification. Here you see an overview about the MetaboScape GUI. On the top, we have an intuitive task management, and you can click on the different icons to switch the GUI between the different operations you need to do. Like here you see a complete overview, but if you want to do compound ID or library search, then the GUI is adapted accordingly. Here you see the sample table, you have a buckets graphic overview, and the bucket table, you have all the annotation information and the statistical plots. A key for complete characterization is the bucket table. With the TREX algorithm, we extract all features, and they are visualized then in the bucket table. And then, for example, you can sort also by intensity. And you see if your bucket is already identified. Also of interest for olive oil could be lipidomics. That's something what we do with Lipid Blast as an MSMS library for lipids. Here you see an overview about our dereplication workflow and the identification. And MetaboScape offers you here a whole bunch of tools. We have Smart Formula with a QTOF or an MRMS. You have excellent accurate mass and the isotopic pattern, and you can predict formula. If you need to identify complete unknowns, you can search on the internet. You do that with a compound crawler, and then getting back structures and use MedFrac and also spectral libraries. If you have already an idea about your components in the substance, you can work with the analyte list and or spectral libraries. Here is another view on the identification workflow. That's something what we did in the first study. We had user-defined analyte list, so we had standard, what we expect in the olive oil, and we also could build spectral libraries for the identification of already known compounds, and then applying Smart Formula and Smart Formula 3D tools, compound crawler and MedFrac. And of course, you would like to understand how good is your identification, and the goodness of the annotation is indicated by the annotation quality symbol, and that can be easily reviewed by the user. And in MetaboScape, you can adapt the thresholds for very good identification. As I mentioned, if you know already some of your analytes, you can add them to the analyte list, and then when you have extracted all your features, they are automatically annotated for the complete bucket table so that you get a list of analytes identified in previous experiments. And that's what you see here. The analyte list can be created and customized by any user easily via a CSV file. And minimal mandatory information is just the analyte name and the elemental composition and maybe the retention time. The analyte list can be also linked then to the library, for example, if you have then MSMS spectra. And what you see here, if you have done an auto-MSMS experiment, then you have also the related library spectra. MetaboScape automatically does the search in all the libraries you have configured, and the identification is done by spectra similarity, precursor mass spec accuracy, and the isotopic pattern. And as said, you can work with multiple databases. There are from Bruker various libraries available, as already mentioned. With Gary's USAC, we have now MetaboBase 3 with more than 100,000 compounds. The MetaboBase plant library developed together with Lloyd Sumner and the HMDB. Here again, an overview about the workflow, showing automated formula generation using smart formula and the structure annotation with compound crawler, database search, confirmation, and in silico fragmentation. For in silico fragmentation, we are using MatchPack. Here you see more detail, smart formula and smart formula 3D. For the annotation of elemental composition, smart formula can be applied to a single bucket, but you also can automatically annotate all buckets. You also then can do automated identification of unknown compounds with a compound crawler. In this case, we were looking online and personal database for C9H11NO2. Elemental composition assigned by the formula was used, and we are getting back the structure information with the compound crawler. And what it does is it searches in the large number of online databases like ChemSpider with more than 600 configurable subdatabases, GB and PubChem, and then you get back structures. And here's an example. We have a link to GB and how it looks there. Then if you get back a structure, you would like to understand, does your MSMS spectrum fit to the structure? And what you do is you use putative structure candidates found by the compound crawler, and what you do is an in silico fragmentation. And then you compare the generated fragment spectrum with the acquired MSMS data. Different possible hits are ranked based on the measured and predicted fragment I. Important for biomarker discovery is of course statistics. MetaboScape deals with complex data sets and helps to easily spot the relevant buckets by means of multiple statistical tests such as multivariate statistics like principal component analysis, partially square, or hierarchical clustering. You also can apply univariate statistics like t-test or ANOVA. Here you get some idea about the principal component analysis. And the unsupervised PCA achieves dimensional reduction of complex metabolite profiling data and allows to get an overview over the structure of the experimental data. And in MetaboScape, Gaussian loading plot can be generated to easily spot interesting packets, for example, for biomarker search. And the box plot view allows a quick overview over the intensities of the samples. If you like to further reduce complexity, PLS is a good method, or PLSDA. PLS is a supervised method to reduce the complexity of metabolite profiling and fingerprinting and to spot interesting buckets. And the buckets with the highest variance between different groups that are then potential biomarkers can be, for example, discovered in the variable importance in projection, and you will see that in the olive oil experiments. Now let's come to the real studies. This study, we were interested in the olive oil differentiation and looking for geographical indications. So the results are published since beginning of the year. The study was performed by Lucia Olmo Garcia from the University of Granada under supervision of Professor Alegria Pancabo. Yeah, you see on the right-hand side the publication. And the European recognition for an agricultural product of food produced and processed in a specific geographical area. You are either interested in the protected designation of origin, PDO, that covers the entire production cycle, or just the protected geographical indication that is for a single phase of production. And the combination of natural and human factors can make a product unique and not reproducible from elsewhere. So the aim of the study was to show the potential of LC electrospray MS and also GC-APCI-MS for the determination of virgin olive oil and minor compounds belonging to different chemical classes. And we wanted to use sophisticated data, treatment tools, and statistics for the discrimination of virgin olive oils from the different protected designation of origin. So what have we done? 126 extra virgin olive oil samples from 6 different Mediterranean regions belonging to 4 different countries were analyzed in this work. The sample set included commercial extra virgin olive oils purchased from local stores from 2 Spanish PDOs, the Priego de Cordoba, and 25 samples and 19 samples from Bena. We also were looking at Greek PDOs, the Kalamata, 1 Italian, 1 the Toscano, and 25 samples from Quesan were analyzed. They were directly purchased from the producer, and also 22 samples from Magnus. Equivalent volumes of all bottles from the same region were mixed into 6 representative blends of each geographical indication, and they were used for experimental condition optimization. We also had a global QC sample that was prepared by mixing equal amounts of the individual blends. The isolation on the virgin olive oil minor fraction from the samples was performed according to a previous proposed liquid-liquid extraction methodology. Briefly, 1 gram was extracted 3 successive times with vortex shaking, centrifugation, supernatant collection with 10 milliliters of ethanol water. The residue was redissolved and filtered through a syringe filter. And then the samples, the extracts, were analyzed either with LCMS or GCMS. So the MS analysis were carried out using, for electrospray and APCI, our elute UHPLC, which was coupled to a compact QTOF. GCMS analysis were conducted by using a Bruker 450 GC and the same QTOF just by swapping the source and going from electrospray to GC-APCI. Here you see, and again, the workflow for the study. We had in the extracts all the compounds, the phenolic compounds, tocopherol, sterols, etc. And then we had LCMS in positive and negative mode, also LC-APCI in positive negative mode, and GCMS. Then we did the non-targeted data extraction using the T-Reg 3D, the time-aligned region complete extraction algorithm, performed data processing and then statistical analysis. Then, to identify the unknowns, we were using the tools from MetaboScape I explained before. We had the data extraction using T-Regs, and then we had the list of compounds, and then you see which one were found according to the analyte list, because what we did, we ran also standards with some of the compounds to identify the easy ones, and then using, as mentioned before, smart formula, compound crawler, MetFrag, and also spectrum library search for the identification of the unknown. The next step was then to get a general overview of the data set using unsupervised multivariate analysis. PCA was used to describe the variance in each data matrix in a lower dimensional space by reducing the number of considered variables with minor loss of information. Thus, 4 models were established with the 4 data matrices: GCMS positive mode, LCMS in negative and positive mode, and also we had LCMS positive and negative mode combined. Now, in a subsequent stage of data treatment, PLSDA was applied to the 4 data matrices and to build 2 class models to discriminate each geographical indication from the rest. What you see here is goodness of the fit and the goodness of the prediction for LCMS negative and positive modes combined, and also GCMS. And we see best results when we combine all the data. And here we can have a look at the Quezon that we used here as an example. Then what we did is look at the Quezon when we apply the PLSDA model. Here you see how well we could separate the Quezon with that model from the rest. Now the interest is to find origin markers. And what we use here is the variable importance plot. And then what we are using when the importance is high, this is a good marker to separate the one region from the rest. And what you see here is that, for example, the enolic acid has the highest variable importance. What we have done is to apply this on all different regions and to look which are the best markers for a certain region. For example, if we look here at the luteolin, it is upregulated for the bena and downregulated for the magnus. A marker that we have seen for many studies is the Lixtroside aglycone, and Lucia has found in her PhD study 7 isomers of it, and this will become then of importance for the second study. So what you see here is a summary of the most influential markers for each geographical indication, and I try to show you how we can use MetaboScape to help you to identify such markers. And as mentioned before, you can use the same principles also for other type of food like, let's say, wine. In another study, we tried to characterize 8 different matrices, oils and tissues derived from the olive oil. In order to understand the distribution of the main secondary metabolites found in Olea europaea, 8 different samples, olive leaf, stem, seed, fruit skin and pulp, as well as virgin olive oil obtained from stoned and dehydrated fruits, and seed olive oil coming from picudo olive tree were analyzed. All the experimental conditions were selected so as to assure the maximum coverage of the metabolome of the samples under study within a single run. The LC and GC with high resolution MS is the same as for the biomarker study, and the markers were then characterized with MetaboScape, and we found more than 150 compounds in the profiles, showing great complementarity between the evaluated methodology. The identified metabolites belong to different chemical classes, triterpenic acids and dicolorols, tocopherols, sterols, free fatty acids, and several subtypes of phenolic compounds. So the suitability of each platform and polarity to determine each family of metabolites was evaluated in depth, finding, for example, that LC electrospray was most efficient choice to ionize phenolic acid, saccharidoids, flavonoids, and lignans, and LC-APCI negative mode was very appropriate for pentacrylic terpenic acids and sterol, and tocopherols in positive mode. Afterwards, a semi-quantitative comparison of the selected matrices was carried out and to establish their typical features. And so the sample prep method was the same as before, and also these results are published. And as mentioned before, you see here that how the phenolic acids were found, the organic acids in both the positive and negative mode, but for example, the fatty acids and derived, as well as other deriveds were mainly found with GC-APCI. So what you see here is that it's good to work with different ionization techniques for complete characterization. And as mentioned before, not only the olive oil, but also the whole olive tree is a good resource for different types of natural compounds. And you see here on this slide which compounds were found in which part of the olive oil. So what's a summary of the study, the achievements, ongoing studies, and future directions? So we have shown this power of different sophisticated methodologies together with statistics to classify oils from different origins. We have built different two-class models with the aim of pointing out PDO markers. And what we also did is the markers were tested and validated using targeted approaches. And what we want to do is to establish quantitative ranges of some analytes for each PDO and identify in the long run PDO 2 compounds typical ratio. What we have not done in that study and what we have to do in future studies is to enrich the created models by using oils coming from different seasons to model seasonable variability too. And 8 interesting matrices coming from the picudo olive tree have been analyzed by the powerful LC electrospray APCI-QTOF MS and also GC APCI-QTOF MS. And 141 compounds were identified in LCMS and 58 in GCMS, giving reliable information about their physicochemical contribution. So now let's switch gears. What about isomers? We are now interested in separating isomeric markers with timsTOFTH, our next generation ion mobility separation. how does TIMS work? If you look at molecules, they have different collisional cross-section, like these two sailing ships, a more compact sailing ship and one with more resistance to the wind. So if you apply some gas flow or wind, then you put some force on the molecules, like here on these sailing boats. So what we have here, we put the wind in this direction from the left to the right, and we put on some barrier to prevent the molecules passing the barrier. Let me explain how TIMS work. It's our next generation ion mobility separation. You get your analytes from the electrospray source. And in the first step, you accumulate all the ions. They are blocked by an electrical field. And then to prevent that ions further enter, we have a deflection plate. Now we want to analyze the compounds. And what we do now is we reduce the electrical field. And remember, we have gas flowing from the left to the right and electrical field preventing ions from entering the detector and so on. This means ions with the largest collisional cross-section enter the detector first and the most compact ions at last. Of course, it's now also possible to have nearly 100% duty cycle to do parallel accumulation. And what we do is we accumulate the ions while they are analyzed in the analyzer 2. And then when they are analyzed, the collected ions are pushed into the second analyzer. And compared to other IMS technologies, the higher MOZ or collisional cross-section elutes first and the most compact one last. How well does it work? Here we were looking at Trisugars, and timsTOFT provides sample overview or the focus on targeted molecules at highest resolving power. And here we were able to separate 3 isomeric sugars, the mehtods, maltodextrose, and raffinose. And we have different modes. With the survey mode, we have a resolving power of maybe 80. With the detect mode, 120, and the ultra mode, nearly 200. And there you see the strengths of TIMS for separating this type of compound. And with the IMAX technology, we offer an adjustable TIMS resolution. What is the value for it? In this example, we did IMS of quercetin and morine to generate individual MS-MS spectra of both analytes for increased confidence in structure information. If we would do LC only, we would get mixed MS-MS spectra because these are co-eluting isomers. If we switch on TIMS, you get different MS-MS spectra and clean spectra because we were able to separate morine and quercetin. And here you see as example some peaks only in morine and the 201 only in quercetin. Now we have applied this to extra virgin olive oil. As mentioned before, we were interested in the EC of lixtroside aglycone. You see here on the top the extracted ion chromatogram, and what you see here already are different isomers. If we look at the largest peak, what we did is to apply ion mobility with TIMS on that largest peak, and what we got are 5 or even 6 peaks in the mobilogram. So separated on an LC time scale. And if we acquire then data-dependent MS-MS spectra, we get here in this case even 5 different MS-MS spectra indicating different structures for the isomers. We expect that one isomer is marker for one region and other isomers are marker for a second region. So that is how TIMS can help to facilitate this type of research. Now let's switch gears again. So why just do LCMS? What is if you want to do it faster and searching for a different type of solution? What is the way to do it faster? And the question is, can we use extreme resolving power of MRMS to eliminate the need for LCMS? And so this study was done in collaboration with the University of Essen, the Faculty of Pharmacy, done by Theodora Nikou and Maria Halibalaki. Resolving power is not only about numbers. So let's look at this peak with a resolution of 50,000. If we increase 100,000, 250,000, and 500,000. What you learn is that with extreme resolution, you get isotopic fine structure and resolve the unique isotopologues. In this study, we were mapping Greek olive oil using flow injection MRMS and multivariate data analysis. So what we were doing in this study is we're collecting the samples at 2 harvesting periods from 5 geographical origins. We also had 3 different cultivation practices and also 3 production procedures. So in total we had 223 samples. So the extra virgin olive oil samples were analyzed with FT-ICR or MRMS without any sample preparation. And here you see the workflow, and we could extract 596 times 2088 features, including isotopic pattern and isotopic fine structure. We got 1100 unique molecular formulae, 678 with the highest score, and then we could annotate structures and export everything for advanced statistics. How well does it work? Using flow injection MRMS, we had no sample prep and just 2.5 minutes analysis time. With the PCA, you see right away obvious strength, good fitting parameters, have an unsupervised model. If you use OPLS, you have good grouping in basic areas, even the subgrouping in the Ionian Islands, and good fitting parameters. So the aim of the study was to use flow injection, LC-free, MS technologies to accelerate the entire process, both sample prep and analysis time, compare MRMS with other LC high-resolution techniques, and we did the analysis of both polyphenols, extracts, and native oil with LCMS only. Extracts can be analyzed and identified the markers. And we found great separation of the oils based on origin, cultivation practice, and production procedure. We did the identification of specific compounds responsible for the observed separation using libraries and MetaboScape, and we got here an excellent clustering. Important finding conclusions were flow injection analysis MMS could be used for quality control of olive oil, generating more accurate prediction models. It has much faster analysis time that could be achieved, and that's even comparable to NMR. The biomarkers could be identified with high confidence based on excellent resolving power of MRMS, and it works with both polar and lipophilic compounds, and they could be identified, which is not possible with any other MS technique. At the end, let me summarize our studies. In the first study, we did multi-class LCMS and GCMS methodologies together with statistical methods to enable discrimination between different PDOs and identify potential origin markers. The combined use of non-targeted and targeted approaches enhanced the outcome of the study. And remember, GC-APCI-QTOF preserves the pseudo-molecular ion information, and that is a great advantage and facilitates the identification. Co-eluting isomers, which might be PDO markers, can be separated and characterized using timsTOFTH technology. And the rapid LC-free magnetic resonance mass spectrometry analysis was used for mapping and quality control assessment of extra virgin olive oils using statistical methods, which allows for clustering according to geographical origin, harvest year, cultivation practice, and the oil production procedure. At the end, I'd like to thank our collaborators, mainly from the University of Granada, Lucia Olmo Garcia, and Professor Alegria Carrasco-Poncabo, from the Department of Chemistry at the University of Greece, Professor Tomaides and Dimitris Damalas, and from the Faculty of Pharmacy in Athens, Professor Maria Halabalaki and Theodora Nikou, and the team at Bruker in Bremen. At the end, I would like to thank you for listening and the collaborators for providing data, and I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you very much. Now I will hand over to Laura.
Thank you, Dr. Baessmann, for that informative presentation. It is now time for the question and answer period with the audience. So I would just like to remind everyone in the audience that if you would like to submit a question, you can do that by typing it in the Q&A box, which you can find on the right-hand side of your window. Okay, so let's start with the first question. Now, here we go. So this participant says, this is good information. At what point in the supply chain would this be employed?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, and actually you can apply it in any point in the supply chain. So for example, if you're a producer of olive oils and you want to ensure that it's coming from, your olives coming from some of the right designation, you can apply there. If you're a wholesaler, then or a supermarket, and you want to ensure that what you sell is from the right origin, then you can apply test it there. Also, if you are an authority to test what's sold that's right, you can apply it there. As I said, you can apply directly from the olive oil to the olive oil in the bottles, but also if you're a producer, then also to the olives or what you get. Next question.
Thank you. Thank you. Here's another one. What are the benefits of TIMS for the identification of markers?
So the benefit of TIMS is it separates isomers and also close isomeric compounds. If you're interested in the identification and you can separate isobaric compounds, you get clean MS-MS spectra, so that's a benefit, and to assign structures. It also helps for the library search, but you also can use TIMS as a filter and to see what you see in the extracted ion chromatogram. And as I said, there's a good chance that different isomers are different for the different geographical indications.
Can you combine positive and negative data sets for statistical analysis?
Yes, we can, as I showed, and it's also beneficial. What we learned in the first study is that actually the results for PCA and PLSDA gave best results if we combine everything, and that's very, very easily combined in MetaboScape.
Excellent. Did you also use standards to identify compounds from the olive tree?
Sure, that's what we did in most of the studies, and of course there are a lot of compounds you expect in olive oil, also the olive tree, and then we've used some of them. What's easy to create the analyte list and identify everything that's easy, and also to build a library. So yes, we did that, but of course we could identify many compounds in addition.
Excellent. What are the advantages of using MRMS for the proof of origin?
So MRMS has various advantages. So first is it's much faster. So you need to do less sample preparation. Because MRMS benefits from the extreme resolution, what could mean even millions of resolving power, and so that's one thing. You need to do less sample prep. You also some compounds are difficult to analyze in one experiment, like for example polar and lipophilic compounds, and that's difficult with LCMS, and with MRMS you can do that. Great.
Just as a reminder to everyone, if you'd like to submit a question, you can do that using the Q&A tab, which is over on your right-hand side of your screen. Here's another one. What libraries do you have, and what is their size?
So we have various libraries. So the biggest one is MetaboBase. We have developed together with Professor Gary Sustak from Scripps Institute. It contains more than 100,000 compounds covering a huge chemical space. For this type of studies, the plant metabolite library we developed with Professor Lloyd Sumner. This is also quite beneficial. And there we have 300 plant metabolites with 1,300 spectra. For the future, probably also the lipid blast library could be of interest.
Great. What parameters are fed into the PCA analysis?
So what we put in were all the buckets. So what we did for the PCA analysis, we developed we created a bucket table and applied our T-Rex algorithm, and then put everything into the PCA analysis. In principle, we did nothing special for the parameterization and just using mainly the default parameters for PCA. So that gave the results. Okay.
Fantastic. Sorry, were you going to add something else?
No, I'm just looking if there are any more questions.
Yeah, I think we can wrap up now. Thank you very much, Dr. Baessmann, for your talk today and for answering all those questions.
Thank you very much, and thank all for joining us today. And if you have further questions, don't hesitate to drop me an email. So my email address is carsten.baessmann@bruker.com.
Excellent. And you can
thank you very much,
right now.
And have a good day.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for attending, as Dr. Baessmann said. And thank you to Bruker Corporation for making today's webcast possible. You'll receive an email alerting you when this webcast is available for replay. We invite you to forward that announcement to your colleagues who might have missed today's live event. We hope to see you all next time. Goodbye.